Banditos, you are live with Tux. It's Thursday, February 1st, just after 5 p.m., streaming from the Pacific Northwest, talking about the Division 2 and the devs released their Phase 2 PTS patch notes, so the developer notes. And we're going to discuss the controversy, shall we? We are back live again, Banditos. What is going on? Happy February Day, February 1st. And that means we're really close to Season 3, which drops on February 6th. And what comes with it? Project Resolve. Highly anticipated? Well, it was. No, there's some good things going on there. So yeah, let's talk about some of the things that have happened so far. So they have basically gone through two phases in the PTS, which is a test server, but it's only available to PC. So a lot of the feedback that they got is strictly from the PC community. So keep that in mind. If you feel like there's any consequence, I don't know. But there's been a little more transparency through this PTS that I do appreciate with these patch notes that we're going to show here on the screen and discuss in live format. They're fresh. They just came out today, not that long ago. So, and I myself, I'm digesting it. I glanced over them, but we're going to kind of live react. I like to save my reactions for you guys so, you know, you can hear me going, start speaking in angry Korean or something. I don't know. But, yeah, so we've gone through these phases, and then each phase they've developed or they've come out with some responses to the feedback that they were provided, supposedly, and then implemented those changes in the following round, which would have been PTS Phase 2. And each of these phases were basically just 3 days of testing, so not a lot. So you might still see people posting, you know, builds based on PTS testing and whatever. But all of that was, all of that content was farmed throughout those 3 days because then they closed the servers. So it's been interesting. There's a lot, probably too much for really people to really test, to be honest with you, right? So, you know, there's a lot of PvP changes, and it's difficult to get PvP changes tested because it requires, you know, lots of servers being active or lots of people in the test server. And when you only have a small portion of the community and what I'd like to consider one of the smaller communities in the Division 2, it's not only PC players, but it's also just the PC players that are willing to do the PTS testing, you know, because you have to download the stuff to get access, and you don't really get a work off of your original character. So and the PC community is small because we lost a lot of them, unfortunately, due to some bugs that happened way back when, and literally where people just couldn't play the game. They just couldn't load, and so they moved on. So that was an unfortunate time of development, but we are beyond that, and hopefully things are getting better on that end. But of course, I'm on Xbox, so I don't truly know, only get to hear you guys' feedback. But that aside, so it's just a small community of feedback, so you kind of wonder how much feedback are they really digesting here, right? And so that's where we are. And so we just got the round 2 developer notes, and I'm going to put them up here now. So let me pop these up here. And then I'm going to scroll along beside you guys. So, yeah, so, you know, we're going to have to interpret some of it here because there's no visuals or anything like that. But basically what they did is, so just keep in mind, there's probably, and there usually is, other changes and developments outside of what is even noted and discussed, even in the more lengthy patch notes. So I provided a link, and if you're watching this on the replay, I'll also have a link in the description area, so you can read through maybe the old patch notes if you're interested, because they were much more detailed and itemized on what is actually being provided in both Project Resolve as well as Season 3. So keep in mind, we have 2 different things happening here with Title Update 20. Okay, so that's what this is going to be when it launches on Tuesday, just in a couple of days. And so that's where the season, that's its own thing, and the Project Resolve is a whole nother thing. And they just happen to be dropping at the same time, which is nice for us, because I think that's given more emphasis to Season 3 than we were originally thinking we were going to get. So because of if you looked at the original calendar or roadmap for the Division 2, you will realize that Season 3 was intended just to be a normal season, where the previous season introduced a new game mode, and some earlier seasons before that did also. So we got like Countdown, we got Descent, and then we got the Incursion, and then Season 3 wasn't going to bring anything. And then the next season was originally planned to release the DLC, which has subsequently been delayed until 2025 for development reasons. And so instead, which this is why we're getting Project Resolve. Project Resolve is what's caused the DLC to get pushed back, partly, probably. So what up, Clutch? So that's kind of the story. That's what's led us up to today. So, you know, so we will be talking about both things at the same time, because these notes kind of incorporate those. So when we start talking about talents and exotics and new gear that maybe you haven't seen or experienced yet, that's Season 3 stuff. And then when we're talking about maybe quality of life things or talent changes or existing gear changes, stuff like that, that's Project Resolve. So it's basically touching everything in the game. So they went through and I guess repower balanced all of our gear, for the most part powered up. And so they're trying to make brand sets more usable, and that's a great idea. Happy about that. Whether we agree or like all the changes, there's enough good stuff in there to make it a worthwhile exercise. It's only tip of the iceberg in my mind, but either way, it's a move in the right direction. A lot of the assault rifles, a lot of weapons got power buffs, and I think they're appropriate for the most part. And you know, I know we'd like to see more, maybe, but the reality is that you don't want anything to really stand out to be number one. You don't, you know, and that's why, you know, is there really a meta? You know, you might have something that stands out. This is, you know, it's always left out in the discussion, but you know, somebody might point out and maybe run a list of like the top 20 assault rifles or something like that and say, this is the number one assault rifle. This is the meta. If they say meta, you know, it's like, oh, I don't know if you could just throw that word out there. Most effective, I think, would probably be, would include more than just damage, because you have to land those shots. And so sometimes the meta doesn't actually do well at landing shots. There's a lot of missed shots or range issues because of how fast it is, and reload issues because of how fast it is and stuff like that. And so that's not really brought into the equation. So you know, with this balance pass that they've done, it's been more than just power. Sometimes it's, I mean, it's for, you know, for the most part, it does equate to damage overall, right? It just depends on which lens you're looking through. But, you know, bigger mags, higher RPMs, which is DPS, you know, and then some just got a straight damage pass, you know, increase in damage, which isn't really exciting at this stage. And again, it's a collective. So as a collective thing, I think we are going to get stronger. But if you're a more veteran player, maybe you've been playing for a while. So let's say your watch is maybe over 4,000 or 5,000 or something like that, then you probably should be feeling pretty strong with some of the gear we have out there, you know? And so if you think about it from that, like when they give you a 10% assault rifle damage boost, is that something that makes you jump for joy? Not me personally. Even if it was my favorite weapon in the game, if it's my favorite weapon in the game and they gave it a 10% just flat weapon damage increase, you know, I'm gonna have a hard time, to be honest with you, I'm gonna have a hard time seeing that in the field. I'm gonna have a hard time feeling that impact. And that's what they've done in a lot of these changes. So I know you're just staring at the screen here, sorry about that. But let's get into it, shall we? And then we'll talk more about that kind of stuff. But so, you know, I got lots of thoughts and feelings about this, some of which I've already shared. So I don't wanna, you know, repeat stuff that I've said maybe in earlier content. So anyways, they're grateful for the feedback. And these are the notes from phase 2. And these are their findings. So weapon and talents. So let's start with the behind you talent. Okay, and so basically behind you is a damage buff that was originally going to be applied to all weapons. That if the enemy isn't targeting you, then, well, basically if they don't see you, then you get this damage buff. And there's perfect versions of this talent, just like there usually is when they introduce a new talent. And that perfect version is on these named weapons. One of them, which is the M700 carbine, or carbine? I can't remember. M700 carbine, I think. And it's a really strong sniper, and it was looking to be really exciting. And then they also put it on the M16, which is a unique rifle, and that delivers burst. And people were saying like, hey, this weapon might actually be viable and worth running. And now with these changes, I don't know anymore. You know what I mean? Because it takes a lot to make that weapon feel good. And without its, with the talent decreasing here, which is what you're about to see, I think that's just gonna, you know, if you're really looking forward to trying out the new M16, I'm not so sure that's gonna be the case, but don't let me sway you. So this change was made, so they made it so that it's exclusive to rifles. It's a new word, write that one down. To rifles and snipers. So that's cool, I'm okay with that. I don't think it's that useful for other weapons. I mean, maybe a little bit for assault rifles, maybe a little bit for LMGs. It'd be really nice to get some damage out of LMGs, but to get enemies to ignore you with LMGs. But for the most part, for assault rifles and SMGs, if you're running and gunning, pistols, if you're running and gunning, then you're going to be noticed, and you're not going to get that buff as much as you would like. And when you do get it, like, who cares? You know what I mean? You're probably slaying things anyways. If you're out there having a good time, if you're still alive by the time somebody doesn't notice you. Anyways, so I think it's probably very little consequence. I think if you analyzed assault rifles and SMGs, even though they had the potential to give you a lot of power, even more than potentially something like the Ouroboros or the Vectors, you know, it just wouldn't have been a practical. You would have had to monitor your uptime and realize that it's just not there for you. That's not the point of an SMG. It's to get in people's face, and they're going to notice you. So this change was made to align. So they made this change to align with its original design. They're explaining it. As its wider availability on their PTS was unintentional and considered a bug. So yeah, so they didn't actually expect it to be there on assault rifles and SMGs. I think that should have been stated a little bit earlier, because there's probably been a lot of content, people creating builds already on that on SMGs, and people might watch that video late February and think they got a new build for their SMG. So yeah, Okay, additionally, starting with 20 TU20 release, the amplified damage will decrease, so it was considered amplified damage, will decrease from 40% to 15% from the behind you. So the non-perfect version was 40%. Now it's 15%. That's like kind of a holy crap, right? And what sucks about this is, I mean, this is typical Division 2. When they nerf something, they come in with that hammer and they pound it into the ground. It's very Division 2. So that doesn't really surprise me. It just sucks. Because that 15% amplified damage, I mean, that's pretty good still, I gotta say. You know, is a game changer for the class. And even more, is it gonna make Vindictive, you know, does this compete with Vindictive? You know, Vindictive doesn't have that mechanic, but, you know, if you put the normal behind you on the MDR and get 15% amp damage, I mean, might be better than trying to shoot somebody's highlighted weak point, so to speak, when they're behind cover. So I don't know, but for the behind you perfect talent, it went from 60 to 20. So those are big swings, though, I gotta say. You know what I mean? However, it is now being restricted to a class that's already really powerful. So rifles and snipers are really strong in this game. And so that's why I'm saying, like, oh, you know, it sucks to see such a big nerf to that. And they're not calling it a nerf, they're calling it a realignment. So fine, whatever you want to call it. You know, if it looks like a duck, it smells like a duck's fart. So it's just like, I don't know. It's 60 to 20% is just, you know, and so but here again, like I said, you don't want anything to stick out too much where it ends up being the meta. You don't really want a meta. Does that kind of make sense? I mean, there's always a meta, but you don't really want it. You don't want it. You don't want the striker situation happening to all of our gear. You know, you don't really want somebody running striker and then going around saying, if you're not running striker, you know, I don't feel comfortable not running striker. It's so good. Why would I run anything else? And, you know, so, you know, depending on the content, whatever, that can be a valid question. You know what I mean? But of course, there's a million reasons why you wouldn't just run striker. But the point is like, you just don't really want something to stand out so much that it's the only thing people use. Right? It would break the game. The game would be over. What would you do? You know, and we've had those moments in the past. I bring up the Heartbreaker example. So when the Heartbreaker is a gear set, when it originally launched, it was improperly coded, so it was giving this redundant amplified damage in the Heartbreaker set. And so all red Heartbreaker set was actually quite a bit outperforming an all red striker build, like quite a bit. And you were getting armor on top of that. You know what I mean? It was insane. It was extremely strong. And so that's been changed. And so they fixed that, you know. And they should, but for a while there, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because for a while there, that's all everybody was running. Everybody. Speedrunners were running it. Normies were running. The civilians in town were running it. You know what I mean? Everybody was fucking running that. And that's a problem. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's cool when something's exciting and, you know, we didn't get too far in before they fixed it. So, you know, who knows how long that would have lasted, but it could kill the game when you have something that's so powerful that nobody's running anything else. And then content becomes really easy because of that too. Legendaries aren't as challenging. People get bored. All sorts of stuff like that. But so this has happened before. It's good to catch it before it goes in. I don't know how it gets into the PTS in the first place. I mean, I feel like I wish that they would think about it a little bit more before they get it there, because when you see big swings like this, it's a little disheartening, right? And so I got to say that I'm not a big fan of any of the exotics that are coming out in this season. You know, I guess they can't all be winners here, but one of the things I was really excited about is this behind you talent. And I still kind of am. We'll see. We'll do a full-on analysis on it, whether we're running a perfect version or not. What we need to see is that, does this kind of damage open up new build possibilities? Because we're already one-shot chain killing, and determined is extremely nice to have, right? Extremely. So does it provide enough value or utility or the ability to do new things that we weren't able to do before? And some of those things can simply be, I can now run more weapon handling on my build because I don't need all those headshot damage mods because of this, you know, or whatever, right? Or I can run more armor on my headshot build because I now have this amplified damage. And for snipers, that can be really key because the damage that matters most is the first kill to activate Headhunter, and you can usually pick off that shot by surprise. It could be a surprise shot, so it's really easy to activate behind you with a sniper and even rifles, because 1886 acts like a sniper basically. So there's some good things that could come out of that, and so I'm excited of having a damage talent that doesn't require something like technician, right? So the only thing that would get you close to this is running flatline, and it's basically the same thing as flatline. Flatline would be easier to activate, but you would lose your specialization because you'd have to run technician. You might not want to do that. So I like that. I like that it's giving you an equivalent to spotter, which is an easy to activate talent. This would be easy for snipers too. So, but big change, kind of sucks. But if it's a game changer, it's a game changer. If it allows us to do more things, the good news is out of this is that you only need so much damage from a sniper. So you're either one-shotting or you're not. Anything over that is why, you know. So, okay, so that's that. They go on, you know, they talk about calculations and suitability and whatever. But Ortiz Assault Interface. So this is the Vindictive. All right, so starting with the T20 release, the amplified damage will decrease from 75% to 40% for highlighted body sections. So basically with this rifle, right? So this is the rifle that is coming out as part of the Season 3 package, and you're only going to be able to get it from the Descent game mode right now, as far as we know. So it's built on the MDR, which is a higher rate of fire, larger mag, but which also means lower base damage rifle. So a lot of people like it because it handles well, but a lot of people don't like it because it's pretty weak. So, you know, where you're just better off playing with a assault rifle if you're going to do that, or there's some other rifles that are nearby that will put out more damage or have a better set of mods or whatever. So it's one of those middle of the road rifles. It's a middle of the road rifle, and you know, so you know, I'm not so sure these middle of the road rifles shine well in the game, although we like them. I have some middle of the road ones I like. One of them being the CQB, the SIG CQB. I really like that. And but they take a lot more shots than the more powerful versions, like the M1A or the MK17 or the 1886, which is my true favorite rifle. So, you know, and so when you realize that, you realize, okay, when I'm using assault rifles, that's when I'm going to go for speed and distance. When I'm using rifles, I prefer power over distance, less shots. And so, you know, that's how I look at my rifles. And so this one is kind of a middle of the road. And so what they did is they took a weapon that's not very strong and possibly gave it enough damage to keep it interesting. It's an exotic for you know, right? It's an exotic. So, and so they took away some of that damage. Hopefully it's still interesting, but it's already got some qualities to it that might remind you of the Diamondback, right? So the Diamondback can be extremely powerful, but it's really impractical. So impractical that you can get killed. And so with this one, you know, you got targets that it chooses at random what zone is going to highlight. There's 3 zones, and that zone could be hidden behind cover with that enemy, like their bottom half. So, you know, which is going to require, which might have you disengaging with that target to point at another one. Otherwise, you're going to be hitting him with quite a bit less damage. You can be hitting him with a, look at it this way, okay? You can be hitting him with a rifle that has no talent on it. How does that feel to you? A medium, low-powered rifle with no damage talent on it. Doesn't sound very exotic to me. So the only thing exotic about it is the fact that it's highlighting target zones, you know? That doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't do anything for you. There's no benefit to that. You know, so that's probably gonna be like, I don't know, 30% of the time, right? I don't know. We don't know. And then is the damage buff, it is amplified, great. But where do you like to shoot with your rifles? Personally, I don't typically go for the kneecaps. I go for the head. So is that damage, that amplified damage, gonna be worth it for you to pull away from the head? You know, so I don't know. We don't know. But, you know, just, and if it's close, which I think it might be, it was close before. So before, from what I understand, the 75% amplified damage on the body was giving the same or really close number to what a crit was doing on the head on a crit rifle build, something like Fox's Prayer Contractor's Gloves. So, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it could be good against tech. Maybe there's a use case there. Maybe against like a Warhound or something, or, you know, it could be good there where all their body parts are exposed because they're running around like a loco. So it might have a nice use case there, right? Or maybe it doesn't highlight tech at all. I don't know about that actually. So we will see. But that's, I mean, what up, Nasty? That's one I'm not sure. You know what I mean? I feel very good about. I mean, I can, you know, chew on the behind you thing because the class that it's limited to is already strong. So 50% amplified damage, you know, 20% amplified damage. We'll see, but at least it's a stable damage for the most part. But this one, on a rifle that's already kind of lower powered. And there's nothing exotic about it. I mean, and we were talking about this in gameplay, you know, when around the time it was announced, and I was free flowing about it. And I was basically saying, like, you know, you don't really want exotics that are just based on a damage principle, you know, where there's nothing else exotic about it. And so the Nemesis is one of those. You know, but the Nemesis is held its own because it is so powerful that it maintains a certain function, a utility in special circumstances. But it's mostly that. It's a backup weapon or special circumstance weapon. The St. Elmo's was close to that, but it's got the shock ammo, which really sets it apart. The Ouroboros is one that is based because the talent is so shitty on it that, you know, hold on a second. All right, sorry about that. Dog barking in the background, making a ruckus. Yeah, you hear him, Grumps? Yeah. So anyways, what were we saying? Oh yeah, we were talking about the rifle and or weapons that are basically built just on damage as an exotic. And what ends up happening is that it can just flat out be outshined by the next strongest weapon. And this one almost had that situation happening, right? So the Ouroboros was really close to being outshined by other SMGs running the behind you talent, all practicalness aside, from a damage perspective, right? And so all of a sudden you have this exotic that's only good for damage, no longer the best one for damage. And so dusty it goes, you know? And yeah, there's arguments to whether that would have happened with the behind you talent because of its practicalness, but still it could be another one in the future, right? And so, and maybe there's something else from that we haven't seen yet from the upcoming changes from Project Resolve, but it's not a good thing for the exotic to not be unique. And this one's not unique, right? So nobody ever talks about Rule Them All. We forget it even has a talent. It doesn't make it not good, but it is a weapon that we like purely based on its basically its damage. And so, and that's troublesome for any exotic that sits in that category because it has the potential to be outshined someday. And so by the next strongest weapon, and it might not even be a weapon in its class. Like you might find that an assault running around with an assault rifle could outshine the Ouroboros, a future assault rifle or a future whatever, right? So, you know, so you don't really want that. You need the unique factor. Like the Scorpio is strong, no doubt, but it's got the septic shock. And because of number 7, target takes additional damage from all sources. It makes it an extremely unique group weapon, but also because it actually delivers a status effect, it can activate things like the Vile Mask or Wicked or other things like that. So it's got a function to it besides just damage. Even the St. Elmo's has got a shock, which is extremely crazy, right? I mean, you got 70 rounds of shock. It's crazy. And so the Capacitor is extremely great damage with its 12% damage to armor, but it also powers up your skills. So it's got that too, right? So there's just, that's what you want your exotics to look like for the most part. And so something like this Vindictive that we're talking about is I don't want to say lazy, but it's lazy. It's just lazy. It's just a skin. And we were talking about that before. It looks cool. And you know what other weapon looks cool and sits in your stash and you don't use it? The Imperium Sanctum, right? Sanctum Imperium, whatever you want to call it. You know, right? It looks cool as hell, but if you tried using that thing, it sucks. And it's never been fixed. And they adjusted one thing once, and it was unanimously agreed that the weapon sucks. And I don't think it got tough enough feedback in the PTS, but once it was out of the PTS, it got that feedback. I think the PTS community, who's ever in their testing, needs to be a little bit more straightforward without being rude so that the message comes across. Like, hey, this is nobody's gonna use this weapon. It's functions very poorly. It's ineffective for the way the majority of the player base, and it gives some bullet points or whatever. But you know, if you say this sucks, you go suck. You know, nobody's gonna listen to that kind of feedback. It's gotta be constructive. And something isn't making it to the devs, because how do these exotics get released? And we were just talking about this the other night on stream. I feel like we're really far apart on what a good exotic is. What makes a great exotic in the Division 2? You know, and I just brought up a couple of good examples. The Pestilence is one of the greatest exotics ever designed. It's beautiful to look at. It's got the Plague of the Outcast, which is super on lore. It's got a strong base weapon damage. It's not perfect. It handles like shit. It only runs off of weapon damage. Right, but it's got the spreading effect. It works solo, works in team. You know, it's a great exotic, right? So there's other weapons too. The Mantis is really well designed. And if you're looking for something even more simple, the Regulus. So the Regulus is one of the simplest, most effective, and best exotics in the game, because it does exactly what it says it's going to do. What it does is unique and actually provides utility in addition to its raw, very high base weapon damage. And that one just so happens to be locked behind a raid, but it's amazing for an exotic. And those are what you want your exotics to look like. Now we have this one, which just is a rifle that looks really cool and is just going to have mediocre damage. That's all I see here. even if that's good damage for the MDR, there's no way that that rifle is just going to perform better than the other rifles in its class. I mean, it's just like I'm not one to not use a weapon because it's not the strongest. A lot of my favorite weapons are not the strongest weapon in their class. Some of them are. Like I love the M44 sniper. I love the M700. I love the M870. Do they all have an M? I don't know. Maybe. But like, you know, the 1886, strongest in this class. So like, excuse me. So, you know, I don't know. You know, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it does do more damage sometime, but is it more effective to just use or easier? You know, and that's how I rate my exotics. I do a little bit differently. It's not just about, well, part of it is its rarity, but also about attainability. You know, can you attain all of its benefits? What I like on the surface is it's straightforward and simple. I like that. Because when we have exotics that are really complicated and difficult to understand, people tend to gravitate or use them incorrectly. And this one's pretty straightforward, so we like to see that. But, I mean, maybe for an out-of-cover target, this can be a really good rifle, right? For out-of-cover type gameplay. So, you know, you got the things like Countdown. Maybe even the Incursion. I don't know if it's strong enough to do that. But, you know, stuff like that where you're just kind of running around in circles. And so's the enemy running around chasing you. So that could be pretty cool. But I don't know. So either way, there needs to be something else. I don't mind if it's not the strongest weapon in the game. I'm cool with that. But just damage, really, devs? This is not an exotic. This is just a rifle with a unique talent that's just damage. You know what I mean? 40% amplified damage sometimes, right? Where, you know, I guess this one sometimes too, but 20% amplified damage under a little bit more under your control as far as it's the whole body. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. Is it, you know, if it makes sense on some builds. Okay. So now we have the rugged gauntlets. Yeah. So we're going down, you know, it's all going to sound pretty pessimistic at this point, right? So sorry about that, but the rugged gauntlets, it's no surprise that nobody likes these. And the devs are saying, hey, you know, you don't like them because you weren't getting the accuracy bonus. But we fixed that. So now you're going to love them. So that's their change. The change is basically saying that there was a bug, and so they were underpowered in the form of handling because you weren't getting the accuracy bonus. But now that we fixed that, when it's released in the game, you're gonna love them. So they weren't functioning as originally intended. So, okay, so if you're not familiar with these, basically how they're gonna work is if you're hip firing or blind firing, you get this buff that it's giving you. And what is the stat? It's 50%, I think. Does that sound right, guys? I think it is, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a 50% recoil reduction is what they call it, but really stability and accuracy, which is interesting if you think about what they're calling it and what it is. So does recoil in this game include accuracy? Because a lot of people say that you can only fix recoil by stability. And they're saying recoil, to control recoil, it's accuracy and stability. So somebody's either wrong or they're changing the definition, or they've rewritten, or same thing, they've rewritten the definition to include accuracy for these gloves only. But it's popularly stated out there that to control recoil, it's only stability, and accuracy doesn't do that. It only changes the movement of your reticule, the little dot, the little white dot. And so they're saying recoil control, which is what the gloves say, recoil control, is both accuracy and stability. When practically, if you just kind of look at it from a practical perspective, of course, accuracy is going to help you put more shots on target when controlling. Oh, how do I say it? Maybe I'm saying that backwards. When you're controlling stability, you're going to be more accurate. Because if you're wet, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to, I guess, justify the language there. But yeah, I don't know what the point is, because why would you hip fire? Why? I mean, there's no build in this game where you hip fire. That's what activates this, is hip firing. So that's 50% of the time. The other way to implement this, activate it, is going to be blind firing. Now that happens, but are you gonna waste an exotic slot for something that you hope never happens? You know, what's that? What is this for? Now, I can tell you what I think it's for. I think it's a PvP function, and I think it's to counter SMG builds with assault rifle builds, or any other weapon, really. So, like, SMGs get in your face, and they rush you, and then they force you to come out of cover to take them on. And so, and if you don't have the same burst damage that a DPS has, then they're going to win that fight, especially since you don't have a shield, and they do, probably. So with this, when you get rushed, or when you see a rush coming by an SMG player or a shotgun player even in PvP, you can duck and continue to use your cover as a shield while maintaining the accuracy as if you weren't blind firing. Because when you blind fire, you lose your accuracy. So that's the only reason why I would see that as a reasonable thing to run, because otherwise, when you're in PvE side of things, I'm not so sure you're gonna want to waste your slot on that. We like to have significant uptime on our exotics. Now, the truth is, we do blind fire probably more than we realize, probably. But usually when we're doing that, the target's pretty darn close anyways, you know? And so I think I'm okay with hitting them on the center mass. Okay, so what are you gonna do? So far, none of the exotics really got me. So we got Vindictive, which is a rifle, and then these gloves, the rugged gauntlets, and what am I forgetting? What's the other one that I'm forgetting? How come I forgot the other exotic? Is there oh, it's the mosquito one. Yeah, there's nothing mentioned here about it. I don't know how I feel about it. I haven't seen it really, and I mean, I've seen it physically, but in any particular gameplay that would, I guess, show what it does. It should make it make sense. It doesn't look like it makes a ton of sense, but we'll see. I don't know. Hunter's Fury, so small change here. They give you 100% health on kill. They're changing that to 50% health on kill. Most people don't really pay attention to that factor anyways, because health hasn't really been a thing in this game. But yeah. So they're nerfing the Hunter's Fury, basically, is what they're saying. So and they're saying because, the health bonuses that we're getting in the future are going to be so substantial that you could be pretty godly. So anybody, I hope nobody's, I don't know, planning on using this in their health build. I don't know if all those health builds give me a reason to run a health build or even a mixed build. You can, but why? You can, but why? And the reason why I say, well, why is because most of our mechanics for recovery emphasize on armor. So, I mean, I'm wearing one, as a matter of fact, right here. So if you look at the second buff, it says it will fill your armor, max armor and bonus armor. And regen isn't based off of your health either, unless, wow. I mean, if it did, it's news to me. But regen is armor regen, right? So, and so all of that stuff, you'd be, if you decided to split your armor or your resistance between armor and health, more significantly. So let's say you put 1 million in armor and then 1 million in health instead of going 2 million in armor. Then you'd be essentially nerfing all of your other elements, part of including which would be your shield. So your shield is powered up by armor cores. And then your armor regen and your bonus armor and anything else based off of armor. So, which potentially could impact your damage from things like intimidate because you don't have as much of it. And so it's easier to take away. Preservation, which is a talent. So there's lots of things that rely on the word armor. And so I don't know why, well, I do have a suspicion, but health isn't a big PvE component. And even though you can, I'm not sure you're going to want to. I'm not sure it's going to be valuable even in your stash space, being one of the most valuable resources we have, and that's limited. And so it's not a game changer. It's not going to, I don't believe it's going to affect or impact the way you play or enhance your performance in any way. We've always complained about it. We already have it. It's not a new stat. But the reason why I think it's coming into the game is because they're nerfing our watch, right? And so right now, as you can see, I have a 65,000 health bonus just off of my watch. So I got 369,000 total health, but my watch is feeding me 65,000. And so they're capping this to, I think, 10,000. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But I think the cap is going to be 10,000 in health. Does that sound right, guys? And you're going to be able to reach that cap when you get to 2,000 on your watch. So you'll get there faster, but now it's much more limited. So that could be quite an impact. And if you want to know what that feels like, okay, just go start a new character and go run around and watch how fast you can die. So I just recently was playing, and I'm so excited to share this stuff with you, and we'll be talking about it in a minute. But I just recently brought in a new character into world tier, our current level 40 world, and from New York. And part of what I was doing was developing a fast strategy for you to basically be able to run with the Division 2 gods. So it's veteran players that basically beat the game, right? And so we've beat the game. It's really easy for us. And so but I've developed a route for a new player to get there in as little as 3 to 4 hours to be able to keep up with veteran players. New into Washington, D.C., with 3 to 4 hours. Now that's your skill aside. That's basically talking build here. And so it's a direct path and it's a formula. Go here, step 1. Go there, step 2. Go here, step 3. Go there, step 4. You do it in this order of things, in these steps. And within 3 hours, you will have the builds necessary to farm heroic with all directives. Why am I bringing this up? Because I got heroic with all directives. No, because with a new character, as I was developing the strategy, and you don't have like this massive watch with all that extra health, or my gear was really low rolled too. The initial gear I was testing with, they were just junk gear I was grabbing along the way. I mean, you could feel that punch. You would die real easy. You die real easy in heroic and challenging, right? Like, boom, you're done. From stupid things too, like one fire round, like a fire round would burn you out because fire goes after your health, like certain status effects goes after your health, basically. And so it's really interesting. So you have to basically brace for that. And so if you want to know what it feels like to have diminished health, you're basically a new character from that perspective, But of course we have all the armor to compensate. But when you got diminished health, you go down pretty easy. So you really have to keep an eye on that. And now it's going to be less girthy. So. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so either way, so the health thing, that's why health exists. So health exists because they nerfed our builds. Why did they nerf our builds? Why did they nerf our watch? Why do we have less health? Because of PvP. Again, PvP changes leak over to PvE, and that sucks, right? It really sucks because it's not something that makes it unfair for PvE content. You worked hard to get those points, and that's just it's a tiny advantage. It's tiny, but it's something. And it's because in PvP content, players with massive watches. So there's people that go in there literally, not kidding you, 100,000 watch or whatever, and they have a substantially higher health. And the problem is that in that type of content where you have a new player against a serious veteran player, they've already won before the shots have been fired, right? So, you know, it can happen. It does happen. It's been a complaint, and that's the way they handled it. One of the ways they handled it, and we're all suffering from that. And then it leaks over. How did it leak over? In all the new gear we're getting, all of it, including some of the changes out of Project Resolve. We got serious health buffs. So they're saying, oh, okay, so we took away your health from your watch, but don't worry, we're gonna give you a gear set that gives you 60, 90% health, total health. It's just like shit. And the reason why we say shit is because if you've been playing this game for a long time, then you'll know that's our number one complaint, is that we have gear that still has health on it, and we hate that. Examples are 511 and Gila Guard. Those are two strong examples of gear that we have always wished they took away the health. And instead, they've given us more gear with health. That sucks. And what it does for you is it makes farming more difficult, or it makes some gear completely useless to you if you're not into health. And me personally, I'm not into health. And so those gear pieces that have 60%, that's just like a wasted slot. And I really don't enjoy a lot of waste on my builds. You know, we only have 6 slots, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just, so it's kind of an annoyance, and it discourages me from using that particular piece. And so some of that stuff will kind of feel like it's dead on arrival, especially when, if it's got an even more emphasis on PvP, because our PvP community is really small. So here they are trying to fix PvP, but I'm not sure that should be the priority. You know what I mean? I mean, they don't want to, I get they don't want an area of the game that's just not utilized, but I mean, can somebody pick out Kenley College for us? Can we talk about Kenley College? You know what I mean? Talk about an area of the game that's not utilized. Do you even know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so it's just, PvP's always been broken. This isn't going to fix it. The changes in 2025 aren't going to fix it. I mean, it's a game mode that needs to be designed from the ground up all over again. You know, I'm not saying it's impossible to fix, but these little patch jobs that just leak over to PvE is just not the way, and it continues to be their approach. And, you know, the next update is just going to reverse anything that they did this season, you know, so we just keep seeing it over and over again. So whatever. But here we are. And we got a bunch of health, and that's really discouraging, because it's like they didn't hear all the complaints that we've been given about the health attribute for, I don't know, 5 years now. At least 4. A solid 4 years we've been saying that health sucks. Please fix Gila. Please fix 511 gear. Health sucks. We hate it. You know, and they brought it to us again. So, okay, we're almost through this. Vindicator is saying it's only going to be available in Descent. Cool. So gear lock is not needed. So they're reversing their decision on the gear lock. And so that's the good news for all of us. So it ends on a positive note. So it looks like they've heard our feedback here. They're reconsidering and returning to the drawing board. And so in TU20, gear lock will continue to function like we have it now, which is basically not locked in TU19. However, they maintain a positive perspective on this concept, especially for conflict. So you see how all these changes really come from the conflict? All of Project Resolve is really, you know, if you really think about it, it's a conflict driven initiative. So, which if you don't know what I mean by conflict, I mean PvP. So, yeah. So it looks like we are actively reintroducing it beyond spawn areas exclusively in conflict starting in 20.1, which is usually inside 2 weeks to 30 days after the initial launch. So they're working on it. Excuse me. And so that's it, really. That's all we know. There could be other changes, so keep that in mind. There usually are. and a lot of things that we didn't know about, and they, you know, they have their highlights. And for some reason, maybe some things don't make the list because they weren't sure if they were going to release it or not. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Good news, bad news? Let me know your thoughts. Yeah, so I mean, but out of all of that, you know, for me, I think it's mostly the exotics are just really falling flat. The new brand set, I think, will stand #1 on my list. Unfortunately, it's got a health element in there too, doesn't it? But the first talent, the first attribute on the new brand set is why can't I hear my game? I can't hear my audio. My audio bummed out on me. Hold on a second. Let me fix this real quick. All right, there we go. I fixed it. Sorry about that. Leave it to OBS. Give me some. Always give me a bug. I'm just gonna play with this for a minute, for a while, until I figure out what I want to do. So I got the global event on. Golden Bullet. I think the map kind of sucks. So yeah, like, so some of the things, you know, I just don't know. But the exotics, I feel like are really falling flat this season. And like I said, the thing that's really interesting to me is going to be that that new brand set with its armor on kill in the first position. I mean, that's going to change so many builds. You have no idea. Just because there's a lot of very powerful builds that are about to get really much more powerful because of that. So I'll just throw an easy one out there for you, okay? So like a lot of people really enjoy an all red striker build, right? And the one downside of an all red striker build, whether you're running whatever, Ouroboros or whatever assault rifle you like, is that there's no added survivability or recovery. So you can kill fast, but you cannot heal fast, right? And so you can get away with just gunner, but still that 10%, if you're a really aggressive player, might not be enough. And because you know you're out there killing really fast, but you're taking micro damage a little bit here and a little bit there, and about every 3 or 4 kills, you notice your armor is quite a bit low. And so I'm gonna pick up some armor here, ammo. So, you know, being able to, and so right now a lot of players resort to like 2 pieces of Bellstone to combat that. So they'll run 4 pieces of Striker, whatever 4 pieces, and then they'll run 2 pieces of Bellstone. Now they got 10% armor on kill, 1% armor regen, and then maybe they're running Gunner also, which is giving them now total of 20% armor regen, or perhaps they're running another talent specialization. So now you don't need to put 2 pieces of Bellstone on to get your 10% armor on kill. You can run just 1 piece of this new brand set, and that's a big deal for builds like that, because now you can run the Coyote Mask instead, right? You see what I'm saying? So, oh my gosh. Huge. Or maybe you want to run a Catharsis Mask, or maybe you want to run a Memento now. So you can run a Memento and 1 piece of this, and you have your armor on kill, and you have your armor regen and or your power. Or maybe you want to run the Striker chest and backpack and get 20% armor on kill. So you run Gunner with this. I mean, huge implications. And still be able to run your what do you call it? coyote mask or whatever your other piece is going to be is up to you, but huge, you know, that's going to be huge for a lot of different builds. And it's not about going for max armor on kill. The truth is those builds never really pan out. I mean, we do them sometimes for fun, just because we want to have fun showing off possibilities. But the reality is that you don't need, you know, if you're killing so well that armor on kill makes sense, you typically don't need that much. You wouldn't want to lose that much armor to do so anyways. And not armor, but you wouldn't want to lose too much slots to do so. That would be otherwise attributed to damage or another utility to be more useful. You know what I mean? So I want to talk about Descent a little bit here, and so this is where I wanted to pick your mind, Grumpy, because Grumpy spends a lot of time. But Grumpy, tell me, how many Descent points do you have, or do you think you've earned? Just to give me a general idea here. Fuck you guys. Oops. I like using the Nemesis just because it gives me a little added challenge. It helps me, like, actually with my immersive experience, you know, when you have to focus. The downside of, like, the Determined is that it can be so easy that, you know, you kind of mind wander a little bit sometimes. Where this is making you really pay attention to what you're doing a little bit more. You have 36,000 Descent NSA credits. Let me get that right. Now your watch, you're 36,000. Just make sure I'm getting that right. Now your watch, because your watch is about that, right? So you're telling me your watch and your Descent, which could be the case. So I don't doubt it if that is the case. Grumpy's a grinder. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Okay, good. So, 36,000, you guys, that's a tremendous amount. Like, this guy is rich. I mean, I feel like Oliver Twist begging for a bowl of gruel next to this guy, you know what I mean? Fuck! And I'm not just not talking about just his NSA watch. I mean, you should ask him about his other stats. He's capped out on exotics and all sorts of crazy shit. Grumpy's the man when it comes to grinds. And he's a soloist for the most part, right, Grumpy? So, I'm not purely, but nobody is really purely. I mean, oh, maybe some of you are. But a lot of us consider ourselves soloists when we still group up, right? And we're still part of clans. But the reality is in this game, there's so much to enjoy from a solo perspective. And, you know, depending on how you find enjoyment in games. Like for me, I use games to, you know, take a break, kick back, not always to like be super social, which sounds kind of weird because I basically am through the social media. If it was what I do, I know, but I'm just here talking to myself. You know what I mean? No, but I'm talking about like for personal gaming. So okay, Grumpy. So we're gonna pick Grumpy's mind. Okay, because everybody's gonna be having to play Descent, and obviously we got a maestro here in our chat, and so, I mean, he's definitely more experienced in there than I am, you know, no doubt. And, you know, I have my strategies, and I enjoy them, and, you know, doesn't mean Grumpy and I always agree on our route, because we have a little bit different play style, or sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's different, just depends. But no right or wrong, just different. And so But there's some little nuances that Grumpy's probably picked up along the way when it comes to earning that XP. And those are some of the questions that I want to have for him, because I want us to be able to develop a really good strategy for the community on how to get their 350 points really quickly. You know, one of those is gonna obviously be, don't spend into your other NSA attributes that you can buy unless it's absolutely there to help you accomplish the Nemesis win, or earning more credits altogether. And so Grumpy, is there scaling up? Because I don't remember, but is there scaling up on NSA credits when you play in group? That's my first question for you. So obviously the difficulty scales up. We know that. Do the rewards of NSA scale up in group? I haven't noticed or played in group enough to remember. Of course, all this stuff is stuff we can test too, but you know, with the new season just being right around the corner, we'll probably be developing the strategy as we enter the season, right? I mean, we're talking Tuesday, folks. If we're lucky, maybe I'll get in there a couple of times before the season starts. But the truth is that I want to develop a whole new, guide for the game mode, because there's other things coming too. The vendor itself, as well as a new gear or talent rotation. And so there's also going to be, we're going to have to basically refresh our guides. So we created Descent guides. I already have them out. They're already out there. And it's not very complicated. Just, you know, approach and what is this? What is that? You know, how to beat the Nemesis easy. That's mainly what it is. And I'm not sure any of that will change too much. Maybe a guarantee on how to get certain things though. It's all based on loot, huh? Tank, you're crazy too. So how long in let's talk for solo players then, okay? So if it's all based on loop, then I would say it's probably, and let me know if you disagree with this or agree, it's probably more efficient to take it on solo or no more than 3 players, kind of like the same scaling. I'm trying to think about that here real quick, but just let me know if you agree with that. And then this second part of the question is for a solo player, because I like to mostly speak to the solo community, because I know it applies to everybody. Where if we talk just for people that have clan mates to play with, they don't have the same luxury of reaping the benefit of advice. Ugh, God, these rushes are on my face. So how many hours do you think it would take for the solo player to complete it, to get 350? Just regardless of experience, so just average solo player. He gets the idea. Just assume they understand how this thing works.
Detecting additional hostile contact.
6 hours, really? Duo's most fun. All right. Because you got somebody to pick you up, less risk. Does the... I have a feeling that I remember the answer being no, and it used to bug me, but maybe I'm outdated here on this. Does the Nemesis give NSA credits?
Bullet active. Rogue agent detected.
And so there's these certain floors I remember.
System disrupted.
Or let me ask you this way. Maybe I'll just go straight for the heart of it. Would there be a particular route or methodology you would do if you were to only be going for NSA credit? Like, for example, would you take all easy rooms and then every time you see that, I think it's called a boss encounter, if I remember right. It's been a couple months since I've been in there. But there's that boss encounter that guarantees NSA credits every now and again. So would you take easy loops and always go for those? Or would your route be to take the hardest loops because for some reason they give the most NSA? Or isn't it that there's only certain rooms that give NSA? That's how I remember it. Basically, those boss rooms and I can't remember what else. Got it. So the Nemesis does. So we have the boss rooms. I know that one. You know how you have the end phase fight, whatever that's called now, but the arena fight, you know, where you fight basically close up the loop. Does that fight give you NSA tech? What up, Axe? I think I'm saying right. Doom main here. What up, Doom? Ooh, look at that 511 with brace. That's actually a good one. Believe it or not. If you're into health, game hurt us. Nice spellstone. Gotcha. Okay. So if you pick up, thanks Reaper. So if you pick up the boss rooms, then you're slowing down your heat because you're taking harder rooms, basically. So you're kind of nerfing your Nemi fight. But it probably still accumulates to be more in the end anyways, huh? Yeah, I think it's probably, I mean, just asking you here, we should probably, if you're open to this, I would love to go in there with you and just talk it out because some of the questions will kind of come to mind as we're demonstrating it. So anyways, I'm like really comfortable with Descent, but the NSA credits have never been a thing for me. So I did, you know, rarely paid attention to them because, you know, that was one of our feedback value points, right? Which is like, hey, let's do something with this NSA. It's kind of frustrating that at some point you just start earning the NSA and it just becomes useless, you know? And so I guess they heard our request, and I'm sure we're not the only person that said it. So that has been granted officially. So this is valuable beyond the vindictive, okay? It's gonna be probably part of your everyday routine. And I'm gonna recommend it, that it be, not every day, but weekly routine, I should say, because of the very valuable blueprints that come with it. I have a hard time thinking that you'll get 350 credits out of 6 hours of gameplay, though, I gotta say. You know what I mean? What's the total amount of NSA that's spendable today? Isn't it like 500? Something like that? Before the buff. You know, to max out all those stats, I can't remember what it is. It's not very many, though, you know what I mean? Ooh, I like that fireside chat. Nice one, Gory. That's okay, like, because what I'm saying to the new players especially, or those that have been avoiding Descent, I like Descent. I do, I always have. I did from the get-go. When I first saw it from afar, I was like, really? I was like, it looks like a simulation for new players, and it kind of is. But the fantasy stuff, when you're creating these builds, and you know, if you like tinkering, that's basically what you're doing the whole time. You're tinkering, you know, from room to room to room. And it's really fun, and you get to create some very unique builds that you can't have in the game. So that's what Descent does for you. And I love it, you know. But the problem is that I'm a pretty goal-oriented person. And so that's, you know, that's my problem, I guess. Because with this game mode, the goal is basically, the reward is basically the leaderboard, which is not that exciting for me, because the reason why is because once you get a certain level, whatever your level is, for me it's somewhere like 23 or something like that, like it takes so long to get there. In order to beat yourself, you know it's going to take just as long, you know, or close. And so, you know, you're talking like 24-hour gameplay is what you're talking about, you know, not to get to 23, but I'm saying, like, you know, to keep beating yourself, it gets to a ridiculous level. And so that's why Descent became uninteresting for me. It was like, okay, so I'm not getting any gear. You get proficiency caches, but I can get that in the open world. You get these blueprints, but the chances to get the blueprints are actually relatively low right now. And they're buffing that dramatically. And you're getting all sorts of other caches, and you're also getting a guaranteed exotic. And now, and this is the part you've probably been waiting for me to say, and I'm just not getting to it. And now you're getting the ability to buy exotics from the vendor. So that NSA currency is going to be able to purchase a variety of caches, one of those being, oh, you tweaker. One of those being exotics. Now, why is that exciting? Well, you're like, well, we have vendors that can do that, like Countdown. Right. But Countdown is not a solo gameplay mode. So there's many times where I'm playing and I want to do things and I don't feel like grouping up with 7 other people and shooting at the same target. Does that make sense? So, like, I love Countdown. I mean, it's fun, it's casual, it's great, but it is a rare occasion I go in there. Even though I know it's an absolute gold mine. It is. I mean, it's the best farm in the game, hands down. You know? Oh my God. I mean, you're a rich man coming out of that game mode, and it's so easy. Oh, I mean, I've been going in there with my new characters, new tunes, watch level 0 nada. You know what I mean? And just, it's an easy game mode. And so there's only 3 principles you need to know. One is follow the group. You know what I mean? Go in there with a certified Countdown build, which is easy, right? It's just got to have tank DPS properties to it. And then, I can't remember the last one. But that's 2, 3. There you go. What is my other principle for going in there? Now that I'm talking about it, just wrote a whole guide on it, but I'm brain farting it out. Oh, inventory space. That's the third one. Yeah. Make sure you go in there with a lot of room in your inventory. So that's the third one. Otherwise, it's a grab and go. It's not a time to be inspecting your gear if you want a lot of gear, because you're inspecting your gear along the way is going to slow you down from going to get other gear, and you're eventually just going to be, you're going to have to abandon gear. So, so you want to have space in your inventory so that you can grab it and go and then deal with it later. And I mean, in an hour to get 100 pieces of loot, easy. And you're getting exotic caches there that you can purchase with the credits, and you're getting named items, and man, it's insane. It's insane, you know, how much loot you get out of that game system. The downside is why it's not for everybody is because, yes, you can play it solo, but the reality is it's an 8-person game mode. And so there's just a lot of times where I just don't feel like it, you know? Oops, I guess I didn't hold it long enough, buddy.
Serious trauma detected. Immediate medical assistance needed.
So Descent is going to be a great alternate. Oops, that missed you. A great alternate for that when you don't feel like grouping up with other players and you still want to get some good farm. And then there's the Nemesis fight too. But either way, even if it doesn't end up being an amazing farm, but when you see somebody like Grumpy with 30,000 points, you know, you'd wonder, it's got to be a damn good farm, you know? I mean, if you had to estimate, Grumpy, I know this is a hard one, but if you had to estimate how many points you probably got from Countdown, you know, how many thousands of points have you earned in Countdown? Because that's quite efficient sounding to get 32,000, and they're probably buffing that, by the way. And for new players, the summit is also extremely valuable and going to be even more valuable next season. So those summit caches, they're optimization caches. And the summit projects, which are the challenges, also give you blueprints, mods, and gear. So that could be pretty valuable, but optimization caches are basically what summit caches are. And that's like very valuable and rare materials that you need to optimize and even for your expertise. So anyways, the variety is what you're really looking for. It's not about one being meta or the god of all resources, but it's you know, you want something for the mood. Yeah. I really realized even more that for my new character, the summit, for my new account, the summit is actually pretty clutch, especially early on because you don't have a countdown build. You know, what are you gonna do? You got to go into the summit, get that countdown build, and you can get it. It doesn't take too long, and then you go into countdown to upgrade it, basically. You know, real fast. Where'd he go?
Yeah, nice one. Incapacitated.
Really, that missed you? Incredible. She has special ammo and a golden bullet, huh? Slumdog Millionaire.
Access unlocked.
Oh, you're just getting back to the game. Good. Hey, that reminds me, guys. So we talked about doing the incursion tomorrow, but I think I'm gonna have to put a hold on to that. Sorry if that disappoints anybody. The reason why is because we're so close to the new season, and I got a couple of big videos I need to get out. I want to get out. And one of them, these are for your benefit, but one of them is, I'm working on them right now, so they're in the works. But the one I need to get to, and it's technically the second one out, is that one I was just talking about, like, what do you do when you get back to Washington, D.C.? And I've been spending a lot of like basically R&D time trying to figure out this new strategy. And I think I'm vetting it out, but I think I've uncovered basically a more optimal route in 2024 now to get your characters through New York without having to invite somebody to carry you, because that's a nuisance. It's really annoying, right? It's not exactly the most exciting thing for somebody else to have to do, go through New York. It's like playing on story mode. And for me personally, I don't like to do it. For the sake of carrying somebody, I'm talking about like going into New York with your level 40 character so that somebody who's creating a new character can get through it faster. It's an extremely monotonous task, right? So the devs have done some things. So you can share resources with your other tunes, and you can share stash, but you can only, it's hard to share actual resources until they come back. So when you create a new character, you can't really share resources unless you do it a certain way, which is you got to play through, because you have to be able to purchase the things from Anaya on both ends in order to share resources. So that creates a stumbling block on resources. And then there's a care package that the devs give you so that you can kind of get a little bump in resources the first time you go to New York and boost. Anytime after that, you go there with nothing. So the only thing you can share is stash. But a new character, level 31, for example, can't use level 40 gear, can't use 39 or 38, 37, and so on and so forth. So the stash space doesn't really help your character until they get to level 40. But I think I've discovered a workaround for that, and I've been thoroughly testing it. I've worked on now 3 new characters with my new account, just for testing purposes, right? So, and what's interesting about it is it works, and I'm not sure really anybody knows about it. I haven't seen any chatter on it, and it's relatively new because of the new game modes, and it wasn't possible. It's not possible without. It doesn't make sense without the game modes, I would say, you know. And so it's because of the game modes that allows you to really actually self boost. And what I mean by boost is self carry through New York, so that you can basically be a god in there, have all the basically the power of a 4-man squad all rolled up in your lonesome self, which is just crazy, right? It's crazy, and it just requires a little foresight for the most part to be able to manage it. So that's what I was. I think I said it a little bit earlier, but I'm basically creating this ultimate guide, one on how to boost your character this way, and another one, they're 2 separate guides technically, but the other one is what to do when you get back to New York. You know, what is step 1, step 2, and the goal is for most people is like, hey, I want to be able to keep up with the veteran players in Legendary or in Heroic All Directive so that I can farm and be more ready for Legendary or whatever, right? So those are the 2 videos that I'm working on right now, and I want to get both of those out. And there's more. I still have to do the Warlords in New York, a general guide video too, which isn't too difficult. That's pretty straightforward, but it's just more of a tips video. So anyways, and that one is not as pressing as the other 2, because the other 2 are sort of like really helpful, I think. And there's actually a 3rd one too. So there's 4 videos I wanted to put out by February 6th, and I think I'm only going to get to two of them. Lucky if I get to 3. I'm hoping to get the 3 of them out there, but I think they'll be helpful. Ooh, that's a nice glove. Yeah, so no incursion. I know, I'm sorry. But maybe if you guys wanted to connect via Discord and still play, I'm sure people would love that. Let me know if you guys want me to do a post or whatever. I'm willing to do that. But yeah, I just gotta, and so my streaming might be a little here or there over the next several days, because of these videos that I want to get out, but also, you know, that day of release is usually an all-nighter. It's tough. It's tough because the devs tend to release late too. You guys notice that? So the last probably 2 seasons, right? The devs launched late. So usually it's supposed to launch like a regular maintenance, like 3 hours. The servers are down for 3 hours, but instead, you know, they say, oh, we're delayed by an hour. Oh, we're delayed by 2 hours. Oh, we're delayed by indefinitely. And you're like, fuck. I've just stayed up all night waiting for this to launch. You know what I mean? I got people on hold because you know, saying, hey, we're going to go live as soon as it goes live, you know? And so we're sitting here watching the servers. And I'm sitting here in front of my computer at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. And so I don't sleep. It sucks. And there's a lot of people that even take the day off work, and people are excited about the Division 2 new content. And this is one to be excited about. I know those patch notes weren't like super, you know, thrilling, but there's still a lot of good changes that we didn't even discuss because they weren't part of the recap in the notes, but it's exciting. I'm excited to work on some really good builds, you know. I do want to keep the new stuff in the forefront, but overall, but as far as the new stuff, the stuff that's really exciting to me is going to be the, like I said before, the new brand set, whatever the hell we're calling that thing. And then that born or look behind you talent. I want to call it born great. I don't know why. That's the gun. They're giving up the good gear, huh? That's what you want to see. Don't really need a lot of Heraldry. It's the less attractive of them all. Actually, Habsburg is more attractive, but harder to farm.
Heavily armored hostile detected.
Fulmer. Really? Really? Okay, that last one I'll give you.
Agent received a golden bullet.
So this is what I worry about the behind you talent, is that with Headhunter being so strong, you don't really need it a lot, you know? So you probably make use of it just once. And you don't even need to, because you have things like your TAC 50 and your Nemesis. And so that's where I worry about that talent. It needs to, is it really gonna, the mechanics are so easy. That's why I push the mechanics on the community. I'm like, look, just do this and then do that. And now you're chain killing for life. And so for me, the mechanics will still exist, or the weapon talent, ideally the perfect scenario is that the weapon talent is so strong, I can skip the switching weapons mechanic. And there was a chance for that to be the case on certain weapons, and that would have been attractive, you know. Then maybe I would have looked at not having to run sharpshooter all the time. I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be a shit show. I know, I'm sad. I'm hoping it's not though, man, because fuck. Yeah, and I'm loving what they're doing with the SRS. The tactical 305 is getting an RPM increase. The mechanical animal and the scalpel, those are going to be really exciting. And then the SIG, which is what the mechanical animal is built off of, it's actually a really powerful assault rifle all on its own. Talent inside, very strong. And a lot of people don't use it because it doesn't, you know, it's got its handling things too. But the reality is that with the Omega suppressor, it's not a persistent issue. But, you know, it's also on the verge of damage where other assault rifles just do better, and so it ends up getting overshadowed. But my point is that if you like headshot assault rifles, it's one of those. It's got that kind of medium high RPMs where it's not too high, because the faster RPMs make for more difficult headshots. Sometimes depends on the weapon, but like it's I say that, but then I think of the Ouroboros. The Ouroboros is extremely easy at headshots because it's just like the bullets come out like literally a laser beam, you know. John, you're talking about basically like tanks and helmet guys. Not really. They're always going to require 2 shots. Is that what you mean? I think that's what you meant, right, John? Yeah, they that's the, yeah. The best way on certain sniper builds, I do have builds that do circumvent them. But it's not, what I do is they're actually, there's more hybrid snipers. So snipers, just to preface it, like, or preface it, I should say, snipers are so strong, you could actually run 6 skill tiers or 6 blue cores and still do what you see me doing here, with the exception of bosses and some of those same heavy guys we're talking about, right? Because I mean, like a heavy solo is north of 30 million to kill him, because you got to break his helmet, which is going to cost you at least 10 million, if not more, and then he's another 22 million on top of that, give or take. So I have actually, next season's going to be an interesting one for you if you're into this, is that my scalpel build or my hybrid builds, I run skill tiers with really strong skills, and what I do with those skills is they act like decoys, right, allowing you to stay out of cover and snipe longer. But I also, more importantly, use my skills to preserve my headshot chain killing capabilities. So I'll sick my skills like basically like dogs. Like, you ever seen John Wick 3? You know, where Halle Berry has got those dogs? Like that. So I'll use them as my dogs. Nice glitch. And I'll put them on that tanky guy. And so I'll just go around killing everybody, avoiding him, and just letting my skills do the work there. And it actually works pretty good, because as you're continuing to kill, you're building even stronger skills, especially if you're running the memento and picking up more trophies. But that's an alternative route. I know that's not exactly what you were looking for, but otherwise they just take 2 shots. So even if you kill them with the body shot, which you can, you'll still lose your stacks, which is your ultimate goal, which is to maintain your stacks. So yeah, they're my last priority. I kill them last. But if I'm going to do it the traditional way with headshots, then I need to make sure I have 2 other enemies alive so that I can regain my headshot stacks, because it's going to take second shot 1 to break his helmet. Really? What the hell? Are you bulletproof? You are bulletproof. Hold on. He's bulletproof. That's a glitch. Game likes to cheat. Yeah, there's one right there. So one shot to kill him. I mean, to break his helmet. Then I can use her to reacquire. If I can. Nope. Come on. Okay, reacquired. Switching back to my primary. Because he nerfs your weapons here. Are you behind a fucking door? Ooh. What happened there? Only 12 million? Strong. So we've already hit him for, I don't know. I mean, you have overkill when you break his helmet, unfortunately. That's the hard part. So there's right there, though. After his helmet break is 24. And 36. There's 36 million after helmet break. After helmet break. So there's no sniper build in the world that can do that in one shot. I mean, I think there is a... don't quote me on this, but I think there's a damage threshold that will break a helmet or a weak point, like to kill the enemy. Like you can do it on District Union Arena. Like if you've seen people like literally soloing District Union Arena and one shot aggro. If you look at their damage, they'll shoot through his weak point with approximately 55 million or so. But it's got to go through a weak point or vulnerable spot to get directly to his health. So you got to find that spot. And so with aggro, what you're doing is trying to apply all of that. I mean, I've never done it, so I might be describing it incorrectly, but from what I've observed, you're bypassing him by shooting all that damage at once, a single shot of 55 million, through his backpack weak point. So you know how you have to destroy his backpack? So basically, you're destroying his backpack and killing him with the same bullet. And I've seen somebody do it with like an M870 build, basically. And M870, it might have been Hunter's Fury. Combined with like the Nemesis and maybe the Achilles Pulse or some shit. I mean, it wasn't just a straight up shot. There was like something to it. Definitely took practice, I'm sure. But it sucks. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Ah, God, I can't wait till they fix that. I hate that. It takes you an hour to heal up and then you're dead. There's the headshot. I've never seen it done with one shooter on the headshots. It's sometimes in that gameplay it looks like there's one shooter, but there's actually two shooting at the same time. One bullet ends up breaking the helmet and one getting the kill. And for the longest time, I thought they were one-shotting him, but and maybe they are, maybe I'm incorrect, but I did talk to these speedrunners and they're like, yeah, no, we're two-shotting him. We are. I was like, that's what it looked like you did. I was like, you looks like you both shot. What was the other shooter doing? He basically said, we're guaranteeing it, the shot, but that it goes down on one. Either way, it's one guy's breaking the helmet and the other guy's busting them out. Obviously, once you break the helmet, it doesn't require that much, though. And maybe that's just the way they did it, and another group was doing it different, but it was a boss. So that really, like, there's an advantage to using the Nemesis. So the downside is it's slower because you got to charge up, right? But you can make it faster once you got your Headhunter buff. So that's the benefit of it, the Headhunter stuff. But the real win with it isn't its extreme power. It's that, especially in solo, because it's really just solo advantage, is that if you lose your Headhunter buff, you don't care. So body shot, you're basically body shot sniping. Because every shot you put out is a potential chain kill. Oh, it is. It's not a potential, it is. So if I lose my headshot buff, the next headshot I get will reactivate the headshot buff. If I lose it again, the next one will reactivate it. So no matter what, every shot is a headshot kill. And so you can go head, body, head, body, head, body with the Nemesis. For sure. For sure. I'm doing that many times if you've noticed it. So sometimes if there's this annoying player who's just running across the screen, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll hit his head, maybe I won't. You know, it's less stressful. Because it's just gonna, you don't have to switch weapons, you don't have to worry about running ammo. Oh, look at God World. I'm sure I don't need it. Do you think we're gonna get the stabilized talent one of these days, by the way? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? The map kind of sucks today, by the way, so. I mean, this zone is good, but there's not much to farm up there. It's not worth your time to even travel. You should be able to. You should be able to switch weapons without losing your buff. Oh, let's clean up here. We were getting full out there, and that was annoying. Yeah, Headhunter is tied to your build, not your weapon. It's. I think you meant determined. So determined is tied to your weapon. Yeah. And Hotshot might be too. I can't remember. Does Hotshot swap out? So Petrov, like I'm almost not wanting to delete that Petrov. So Overlord's gonna be interesting. So you notice me keeping that. So that's gonna give. Is Overlord going to 30%? Yeah. They're buffing that by 20%. Overlord's 30% weapon handling. Petrov is going to 15% weapon handling. I think that's right. That's crazy. Something like that. Yeah, I think that's right, because I remember saying that's basically Hotshot's buff. Yeah, I would like that bug to be fixed, by the way. Yeah. A Hotshot bug, still to this day. Like, I'm running Hotshot. I probably shouldn't be, though. Like, not getting much benefit out of it, you know? Maybe I'll keep this build just to make fun of 511. That piece. The health thing. Make it a health build of some sort. There's your G36. You can have it. Somebody looking for that? I don't mind the G36. It's just... they're all so close. For me, they're like the P416, the G36, and the Police M4, kind of all relatively close together. I got a crazy carbine the other day. Do you know how... this is what's crazy about it. So you know how the carbine is supposed to be fixed so that it doesn't come with that talent. That's supposed to happen next season. But I've never really had a problem getting carbines. Like I get them more than, you know, people create these videos on that they're like the rarest weapon ever. But like, it's like, I don't know, I get a lot of them. I just got a god rolled carbine with damage to armor is like, not the first time, I'm just saying like, not that rare. Countdown delivers. Let's offload some resources here real quick. Find a place to do that. Because I was about to crush a bunch of stuff, and so that all goes into materials. All right, negotiators. Have a good night, Rob. Thanks for coming by. All right, we're good? We're good. Oh, you know what? Maybe let's change one of these pieces. We don't really need a hot shot all the way. I'm running vigilance. I don't know if I need vigilance, but I think I was using this for a team build. Just now remembered. Let's run ninja. Why not? And then that creates room for creativity. So some armor on kill will help keep things moving quickly, probably. Don't really want damage, but where's my armor on kill? Guess that one. Gives us damage to armor. I don't know if I want to run that much armor. Should have a bellstone that would. There it is. Yeah. Cool. So we get some regen, damage to armor, open those two pieces up. We're still running a 4-piece, but we don't want to. So I'm going to open up another piece here. The reason why is because, you know, I'm missing. So because I'm running around. I land a bunch too, but you know, there's a lot of misses going on in there. And it's easier just to build real armor on kill and not do the potential armor on kill. So I couldn't put an Uzina here and double up on that. But I would continue to get, I'd like to continue to get more handling, but I'm not sure there's any way to do that without doing something like this. Boo. Right now. Boo. So we'll just do Uzina. Let's see, that's 8.0, 6.4. That would go trash. Yeah, don't forget to clean out your stash. Now is the time to do it. Yup. If you haven't created that extra character, now is the time to do it. You need 150 slots going into a new season. Easy. That's because you need variations. Of all the gear as you're figuring out how you want to run it. And so you'll need chest pieces and masks. And Fucker got that guy out.
Hostile engaged.
Hostile completed the golden bullet.
Oh, he was fast. Oh, one of these days I'm gonna get you. Get you, get you, get you, get you. Oh, where'd you come from, me? Fuck. Oh my god. Oof, that was fucking lucky. Switching back. You can use attack 50 full time, but I'm just getting my nemesis some hours.
Heavily armored hostile detected.
Oh, double turrets up there. Wait till he's done doing his fucking cartwheels. Jesus Christ, huh? Leo Mastro Donato. Oh, what a cool name. Appreciate you, man. Welcome to the Players Club. Oh, God, you're too strong for your own good, buddy. Yeah, don't forget to head over to the main channel on YouTube and check out the Texas Players Club playlist. It'll be right at the top for you. You can check out all your member perks. One convenient little location. Oh, that reminds me. I meant to say earlier, I'm working on the new playlist. Yeah, so every season I like to make sure we have a fresh playlist so we don't go crazy listening to the same music over and over again. So I'm working on it. Got the tracks picked out, ready to go. And I'm just, I guess, mixing them together. And then coming up with the visuals and all that, too, as part of that project.
Stay right there.
And then once we get the, I guess, what do they call it? The, oh, God, he glitched. The, what do they call it? The reveal, the season reveal. So once we do the season reveal, then I'll create new intros and trailers and all that stuff too. But we need the latest and greatest from the devs to do that. So that usually comes same week, but a few days out after the new season starts.
Hey, defend.
God, I swear it sounded like they were coming from there.
Attacking objective.
Oh, they hit his hand, unfortunately. Didn't count as a head. That did.
Golden bullet being assembled by hostile. Received. Golden bullet.
Look at that boss. God, she's twitching out.
Supply room access.
Oh, good, Marcelo. Yeah, you notice I probably do a lot of progressive, so. Like, I got it on right now. It's like basically like a 5-6 hour loop. So you stick around long enough, you'll hear the same song twice. If you stick around long enough like me, then you drive yourself crazy. Yeah, and so they were a little bit more frequent because the devs, you know, we used to be on a 3-month seasonal rotation. And so they pushed it out an extra month, all the season stuff. So I kind of align with that, with the development. I don't have to, but it's sort of my cue, like, oh, it's time. Because they were always creating something around here, right? So when I get that cue, it's like, oh yeah, we're getting close to the end of the season. I better start working on that new list, the new playlist. No complaining. What up, Skeletor? Hello and goodbye. Can you believe we're almost done with this golden bullet stuff? Does it get a little redundant for you guys, or is that just me?
Civilians in danger.
I'm actually not playing into it too much when you use these kind of builds. I mean, it helps a little bit on the, it helps a little bit though. Yeah. I don't have to charge as long once I activate it. And then of course there's the reload part 2, but it's not super game changer for something like the Nemesis. But for other sniper weapons, it can be. Because of Determined being so fast. I mean, you can just farm the hell out of things. No scope sniper build. Or rifle. Or pistol.
Hostile has full golden bullet.
Lost one. Well, we got ourselves an agent.
Take that from me.
Is he okay? I'll set up my turret.
Jesus. Oh, great. God, a fucking egg. Can you believe that shit? That grenade came from so far away. It came under that fucking bridge. By this lady up here. She's my next target. She knows it too.
They may have backup.
Where'd we go?
Heavily armored hostile detected.
Oh, she sucks.
Medical assistance needed.
She always gets me a miss. She's good at it. That armor on kill's nice though, gets you back in the game fast. Ah.
Agent down.
I tried to pop and cover, didn't happen. Just stood there and took the pain. Come here, come here.
Disabling golden bullet.
Yeah, the Convoy X3 nerf did kind of suck. I wish we had that one. That was my favorite one of all of them. I didn't actually get to take advantage of it too much. I was, you know, when it was there, I fought him. I didn't really farm it though. I just didn't like the hassle. You know, resetting your map and all that crap. Oh, hold the wrong weapon. Hold on. Nice move. You're way out there, buddy. He knows I'm looking for him too.
Golden bullet complete.
What's going on? Oh, great. Somebody behind me. He's got a shotgun. It's weird to sound like a shotgun.
Incoming hostiles detected. Golden bullet received.
Come here, buddy. Golden bullet with special ammo hurts.
Detecting additional hostile contacts. Incoming hostiles detected.
Really? Cameo.
They're moving around me. Get back! Get back!
God, I went way back there, didn't I? Wow, he's all over the place. Jesus. You see the way he moved? And that's no joke movement right there. Super computer jitterness.
I can't help from this spot.
Breaks my immersion experience.
Wait! We're not so defensive, though.
Yeah, the armor kills didn't work, yeah. I like to be able to be okay with taking damage, you know what I mean? I like anticipating it. So I love bonus armor and armor and kill and Embrace the damage. Embrace it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're going to dish it, whether you like it or not, huh? I mean, especially if you like the fantasy of being a hunter, because that's what the hunters do, right? They brace that damage. Those boys can take it. Even the rogues.
Supply room access unlocked.
Now there's a role model.
I'm the recruiter. You call me a role model. Shouldn't be so friendly with me. No, Matt, I'm on the Xbox. I rock the box. Yeah, looking at that big mountain of exotics that you have to get to really lean into expertise system is rough. You know, it really is. You're like, man. And next season it's going to be even worse, but at least we can be able to get a shit ton of exotics. Have you guys done the math on how many exotics you're going to be able to get next season? It's going to be insane, but it's still going to require a lot of hours. It's not really more as it is more ways. And what I mean by that is because, I mean, countdown is all you need. Except like we expressed earlier, it requires that you go and play with a bunch of other players. So it's good to have the other ways. Like, for example, you have, which is already implemented, but you have PvP. And that's another way, and there's people that only do PvP, so they need that way, you know. And then there's those that want to explore it more, and now they're encouraged to do it. And then, you know, Descent, another way, more enticing for solo players. The Summit is going to be even easier or less time intensive. 30 floors was a little much, I gotta say. It should be equivalent to doing a legendary at least, like an hour. But 30 floors is more than an hour. And so, yeah, so now you can only have to do 15 floors in this summit. And then, now it's not just the Descent, but now you have the NSA vendor. And then the projects are going to be more rewarding in other ways, not just exotics. A nice little Cheska. Cool. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to call it a night. I got to help my daughter with their homework and then work on a video for you guys. So just keep in mind, my schedule might be a little off for the next few days. And so we'll see how much progress I make. I hate skipping weekend streams, but it's a possibility. Just want to keep you open-minded to that. Because, again, we launch on Tuesday with the new content. And I just want to get some of this new player stuff out and helpful guides for even returning players or some of the veterans too. So anyways, hope you guys have a good night, and I will catch you hopefully tomorrow.